What a day for Marcus Rashford. Manchester United beating Arsenal by 3-2. As well as the result, it was all about Louis van Gaal's theatrics on the sideline. This is what Wenger and Van Gaal had to say about it after the game.
What did you make of Van Gaal throwing himself on the floor?
Nothing.
Do you think managers should do that? Do you think it's proper conduct?
Look, you will have to ask him the question. I do not want to comment on that because afterwards you will say I'm a bitter loser. What I am, in fact.
Normally I'm sitting on my bench and I have a lot of criticism because I'm sitting on my bench. And now I'm out of my bench and now I have a lot of criticism because I'm doing that. So, no, I have apologized to the referee and to the linesman and everything is solved, I hope. And I have to control my emotion. That I say also to my players.
The fans love it. They applauded you back into your seat.
Yeah, okay, but the fans are not always wise.
It was good. Endeared him to the fans. Of course, so did the result. We'll talk about Manchester United in a moment. But let's talk about Arsenal, because this was their chance, wasn't it? This year, the fact that Manchester City's struggling, Chelsea's struggling, United's struggling, it was Arsenal's opportunity. With Leicester at the top of the table, you thought Arsenal were going to come good here. And this was the sort of game in which you needed them to make a statement. Not only did they not make a statement, there just seemed to be any sort of desire, any sort of fight for a team that should be favourites to win the title.
No spine, no bottle, no drive. Not one player on that team was driving his side on, particularly when they got a goal back. Then they were back in it. On 2 occasions, it was still easy peasy, just getting the job sort of done. I mean, quite frankly, I am shocked at Arsene Wenger in his interview. I would have thought he'd have been raging, screaming, the most unhappy guy in the world because his team were an absolute joke today. And he's actually got a smile on his face. I find that pretty unacceptable.
It was a joke against a Manchester United under-20 side.
Well, and that's it. The fact that you lack intensity against a team that on paper you should be able to beat. It is Marcus Rashford who's scoring 2 goals. And he may become a great player sometime in the future, but he just scored 2 goals against you in a game that really defines what your season has been if you're Arsenal. A season of opportunities, but wasted opportunities. The performances on the field as a whole was disappointing. Individually, players like Theo Walcott, for example, if you get an opportunity to play and you have to use your speed, and the reason that you're on the field is because you're a fast player, why don't you ever look to get him behind? Try to exploit the mismatch of speed with Carrick and Blind. Never try to do that. Never got involved in the game. And then on the other side, you have an Arsenal team that continues to pass the ball and lacks the intensity of sometimes, you know what? It's okay to be direct. It's okay to get in behind. It's okay to stretch defenses so that now you can play underneath when you get that space. Overall, if you're an Arsenal fan, come on now.
Let's get your mark, shall we, Stevie? As you mentioned, Theo Walcott doesn't exactly impress.
Oh, well, there you go.
He gets a 1.
That's because he found his way from the dressing room to the field. That's what that's for. I mean, Sanchez, I mean, come on. This guy, with the experience he has and the ability he has, playing against a kid and Varela at right back was embarrassing. Welbeck and Ozil, for me, were 2 guys that actually kept Arsenal in this game. The rest, I mean, look at the back 4. Bellerin, average. Gabriel and Koscielny were an absolute disgrace as a partnership. And check-in goal, well, you could say you couldn't do much about the goals, but when you let 3 goals in, you don't deserve a pass mark. And I'll tell you who else doesn't get a pass mark, Arsene Wenger. He made 2 decisions. One was to play Walcott, which I think was a rational decision because his pace, obviously with Carrick and Blind, makes sense. But the one at the back, when he plays Gabriel instead of Mertesacker, I think that's the biggest mistake he made because you can argue that Rashford has pace, but Mertesacker has got more experience than most people on that field in a red jersey. He would have sorted it out. Instead, you throw Koscielny and Gabriel together, and they were an absolute disaster.
I think playing Theo Walcott makes sense if you expect to have the ball deep in your own half, where you expect to have room in behind the opposition. But Manchester United's setup, they sat deep, soaked up pressure, felt that Arsenal couldn't hurt them if they remained organised, which is brave and Louis van Gaal, given what we've seen from Manchester United defensively of late. And they allowed Arsenal to control the ball. And this is the thing. When Arsenal have the ball and control the game, they are a fantastic team. Maybe if Monreal takes that chance very early on, we're having a different discussion. But he doesn't. And then even when Manchester United go in front, and this is what surprised me and disappointed me most about Arsenal, even when Manchester United went in front, there was simply no change to their approach. We keep the ball, we'll be slow, we'll be methodical, we'll deliberate on it, and they never seemed to want to push Manchester United any further. Manchester United were quite comfortable.
To do that, they do not have one player on that field. Mertesacker, you would say, is probably the only player that you ever see demonstrating on the field with the players, trying to push them, trying to get them to do things. I mean, Varela gets booked 10 minutes into the game. Now, anybody with a football brain would turn around to Sanchez and say, right, you get yourself right on him and we'll get you the ball. This kid's got a handful of games behind him and he's got booked and he's got another 70, 80 minutes to go. What did they do? Never got him the ball.
Sit back and
What's happened to Alexis Sanchez?
Well, he's not been the same since he's come back from his injury. And that's a concern when you're looking at one man to carry a team. And if he doesn't show up, all of a sudden you look lethargic. And quite honestly, given the pace that Arsenal have at their disposal, given Manchester United's midfield, it's a concern when you look as pedantic as Arsenal have done today. And it's hugely disappointing. And you can't help but, we come building up to this game, you look back to the game at the Emirates, where I thought Arsenal were their absolute best. The pace they played with, the tempo, the pressure they put Manchester United under, it was nowhere to be seen. Okay, as an away team, you say sometimes we have to sit back and we earn our way into this game. But you go one down and you don't change. And this for me is why Arsenal will continue to be criticised, why they continue to be undone in big games. Because when things aren't going exactly their way, they simply don't know how to grab a game by the scruff of the neck and take it over.
Now, this is normally how we speak of Manchester United this season. We start the show by just saying how dreadful they are. But on this occasion, you have to take your hat off to the youngsters. They very much rose to the occasion. You take a look at this, your marks, Ali, and we know Ali is harsh with his marks.
Very, yeah.
What do you mean very?
You are.
Realistic is what I am, and objective. And when it comes to the defending of Manchester United, whenever Arsenal pushed the tempo, whenever Arsenal were able to ask questions of Manchester United, defensively, there were all sorts of issues for Manchester United. You mentioned Varela early on. He got beaten behind by Nacho Monreal. Monreal should have put that chance away. He did not. De Gea came up with the save. That's why he has a 7. In the midfield, Schneiderlin, I thought he had a tough job to do because he had to cover a lot of space, and yet he loses his man, Danny Welbeck, for the first goal. That's why he gets a 6. And in terms of what they do in the attacking half, I thought, and we all thought, that Memphis Depay would regress to his old form in the Premier League. He actually was very impressive today in putting pressure on Arsenal. And then, of course, Marcus Rashford, what can you say? 18 years old, scores 2 goals, assists the other. He gets nothing else but a 10, and he deserves it.
But one person got higher than a 10.
Oh, yes.
Van Gaal got an 11.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. You just saw the performance that he put together on the press conference. But when you flop like that, baby, that's right. That gives you something special. It's Oscar sniper.
Hey, it endears you to that. Look, Louis van Gaal has been criticised by every man and his dog. It was the biggest cheer that he got, Stevie, since he's arrived at Old Trafford when he's flopping on the sidelines.
Well, that kind of tells you the sort of figure he's actually become, isn't it? When he's actually getting attention for that, as opposed to his team.
Do you have a problem with it?
No, not at all. I think it's fantastic.
Well, it was beautiful.
You know, you're in the heat of battle, and something like that happens. You sometimes lose the plot. He obviously lost the plot. I'll tell you what, he got up quick as well.
Oh, yeah.
And he still held on to that.
He couldn't let go. He couldn't let go.
No, I have no problem with that whatsoever. That's what you want to see.
Is this a turning point for United?
You hope so. And not just because they get a good performance and a good result against a heated rival at home, but Ali mentioned it. We wondered whether Depay was really a Europa League man of the match and no more. All of a sudden, he seemed to find confidence. Rashford looks the part, and it's good for Manchester United to have a player and the fans for somebody to shout about, especially with Martial continue to be sitting in the stands, is injured. But it's still a very patched up Manchester United, and you look at that back.
It's a one-off. You'd have to say today's a one-off.
Absolutely is. But
unless they go on a run with this team, this is a one-off.
Listen, I'm speaking from the point of view that I'm a Manchester United player sitting in that dressing room, and I look at all the problems we have coming into that game, and we come out with a win. We conceded a couple that was a little bit hairy down in the end, but we have a patched up back four. We've got an 18-year-old front man. We've got a left wing who only seems to show up in Europa League games against low league foreign opposition.
But you look forward to going to training for a change.
Exactly. And all of a sudden now we put together a complete performance. You get 3 points where you've been dropping points here, there, and everywhere else. And you're very happy about it. And you're looking forward to the next game, which is probably more than most of the Manchester United players have been able to say for some time.
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. When we talk about Marcus Rashford and how Manchester United fans on social media were going crazy, yes, this is the guy, this is our man. Let's be honest. 10 days ago, a week ago, these people did not know who Marcus Rashford was.
That's football, Ali.
Yeah, but then again, we go back to the thing that you have to take advantage of your opportunities, whether you're Manchester United or whether you're Marcus Rashford. He comes in 2 goals against Michelin, 2 goals again.
Scores 2 and saves 1 on the line as well.
There you go.
See? Couldn't let it go. Couldn't let it go.
But by the way, does everyone agree that's a penalty?
I think it's a
100%.
Yeah.
Peter Walton he makes a move to it.
There you go.
Who listens to Peter Walton?
If he is agreeing with you, you might
we do.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.